99.7 FM. You're also streaming live on Facebook at Joy 99.7. Apologies for the earlier hitch there. You know, these things happen. But thank you for staying tuned in. I am Bernice Abubedulansa, and I'm doing this for your regular Edem Night Tea. This is the show that makes you or helps you make a home out of your house. We just don't want to have houses, but we want to have good homes where everybody can be comfortable to achieve their goals. Well, this morning, by way of motivation, I bring you a quote from Dalai Lama, and it says, just one small positive thought is what can change your whole day. Just think about it. I know there's a lot to worry about, but can you find one positive thing? Can you find just one good thing to hold on to today? And who knows, it could be the breakthrough for you this morning. Well, today we bring you a very relevant and timely conversation. Without a doubt, we know and experience the daily harshness of the times. Everyone seems to be experiencing firsthand how difficult things are. Some a lot more than others. Families are not left out of these hardships, and the stress of dealing with harsh economic crisis and its effects may have serious impact on the family. Now, it's very easy to give in to the pressure and neglect the well-being of yourself and your family and even the bond you share. How can families manage the frustrations, inadequacies, tensions, stress, anxieties in a way that the peace and harmony within the family unit is not negatively affected? And what are some of the practical ways the home can be managed in these times to make things a little bit more bearable, especially this festive season? Well, this morning I've been joined by Phoebe Besemete. She's a family life counselor. Ariel joins me in studio, the wellness coach, and we have Eugene Birikran, general manager of Petra. Obviously, we need some very practical tips to help us manage, especially our finances in these times. Well, before we go, let me just remind you that Home Affairs is brought to us by Amasha Partners Limited and iCare, Compu Ghana, Passion for Technology, Onga, Mama's Helping Hand, Royal King Cracker, Take Chuck Your Hunger, and Cerelac, It's All Good, Mom. We are very interactive, and later we'll be opening the phone lines to hear what you have to say. I know that some of you have already started employing some of these tips and strategies to help you overcome the difficulties of the time, and we'd like you to share with us. If you also have any questions for our guests, we'll be willing to take them as well. So let me start with you, Ariel. I know we all agree that times are hard, even the government doesn't deny that. And it's very easy for us to forget the impact this has on homes. Adjustments have to be made, some of them really painful. On social media, in conversations every day at work, we know there are people who've had to cut down their staff. What this means is that a family is going to lose a breadwinner. In times like these, how do we get our heads straight? How do you, if you're really affected by the economic crisis, because like I said, some have it easier than others, what is the first thing to do to keep a cool head so that you can move on to the next point?
I like the quotes you shared from the beginning because that is basically what we have to do. Look for one good thing to put our heads up so that we can go forward. And the whole thing happening is, sorry, is interesting to know that. I mean, somebody was asking me this week, what is wellness? What does it have to do with all this? From the wellness perspective, you're not waiting for the challenges to come before you strive for balance. So you've always been practicing something, actively engaging in ways to keep you healthy, physically, mentally, and all other areas of your life. So we have come to a place that you need to strive again to balance. And as you're saying, people have made adjustments, which is a choice. Wellness is all about knowing that I always have another choice so that I can feel okay going through where I am. So yes, the first place is to make a choice. If you can't buy series anymore, then what do you buy? It's a choice. If you insist you want to buy series, then you are making a choice that will affect your well-being mentally, physically, emotionally. So the first place is making a choice that I have to strive to find another way of going through this situation. And so if I spend 50 Ghana on lunch, maybe if I continue like that in the next few months, I know I'm going to be stressed, I'm going to be worried. How do I make another choice now so I don't put that stress on myself? And the first place is to look at the fact that you are even here in the first place to make a choice. Because if you are here, then it means there's another opportunity that's going to come. There's another way that's going to happen. The whole world is not cut and paste and fixed. I mean, I was telling somebody, I remember some years ago when things happened like this. I mean, the dollar just kept moving up and moving up, and it happened, but we went through it and we are here. Some people may not be able to go through it depending on their orientation, depending on their operative system that they are using. And so it is very important for us to know how we are perceiving life, how we are operating, so that when things don't go the way you are always expecting, you know that you are always have the capacity to balance, the capacity to pivot, the capacity to calibrate yourself in a way that you don't fall. So this is the wellness way of living. You always have actively practicing something, activities and routines that always helps you to balance yourself. It's not that problems will not come. No, that is not the way of living. Challenges will come. Things will not go your way in the day. Traffic will just show up. Things will just show up. You can't control dollar. You can't control, who is changing their prices. There's so much you can't control. But you can control how it affects you.
Right.
And that is where you have to put your attention on. If you put your attention on the things happening outside of you, then you mean everything can just, crush you. So how do you sustain yourself so that whenever things don't go as expected, you're able to strive for balancing?
And for you, Ariel, it all starts in the mind. You
In the
need to
mind.
make a decision that you will
Yes,
go through this.
It is an operative system. Wellness is an operative system, which is the way you perceive life, the way you make your choices, the way a container you've created around yourself to protect yourselves. It's positive and affirming.
Interesting. Let me come to you, Phoebe, and good morning to you, Phoebe, and Eugene, who are joining us via Zoom. Phoebe, it may be a little easier on adults when we have to make adjustments like these, obviously, because we are making the decisions and we've gone through it rationally. We understand why we need to make these decisions. But within the family unit, there are also children who also have to be have to suffer some of these adjustments. And how do you bring them on board? How do you explain to your kids, for example, that I need to take you out of the school, or we need to stop taking this kind of meals? Because these are hard decisions that are being made in many homes as we speak. How do you bring the children on board? Sorry, Phoebe, I think your device is muted.
Sorry.
Great.
Good morning again, and thank you for having me. That's a very, very important question. And well, first and foremost, we need to understand that children go through different phases. So younger children are able to adapt and able to adjust easier. So we are talking about between the ages of possibly 0 to 5. And it's the way you present the situation to them. If you have already been cultivating a family connection between all of you, and what I mean by that is you are constantly communicating with your child, you're constantly interacting with them, and you're involving them in everything that's happening in the family, it gets easier for you to communicate when changes are taking place. And it's also very important to start letting them understand from a very young age that these changes come when there are, external influences on the family. So it's very important to be having these conversations with them. But when you look at younger children between the ages of 0 to 5, it is easier to communicate when changes are taking place. You can make it look like an adventure. You can make it look at something new that the family is trying. the mood and the attitude with which you present this is what will
It's
influence and
important.
impact
Yeah.
them. And I believe it's the same for older children. But with older children, you have to be more practical, you have to be more open, and you also need to help them to understand that it's a financial situation and it's an opportunity for you to even teach them about, future financial planning, preparing for the future, and, saving, investments, and all these things. So it's a holistic attitude that you need to have towards the situation. If you, as the parent, you're already feeling very beaten down by the situation and you're very upset, that attitude, that aura is going to transfer to the children and they're going to respond very negatively.
Yeah.
And I think it's something that you need to keep talking to them about, encouraging them and helping them to understand that the idea that maybe the situation in life is changing does not mean that they have lost their value. They are not going to be able to see their friends anymore. And I believe that even parents, sometimes we inadvertently we cause our children to connect their material possessions to their identity and to their self-value. And this is also another opportunity for parents to separate the two and help them to understand that, look, you're still a wonderful person, you're still very valuable. The family is just going through a transition and we're going through it together. So that togetherness, that constant communication, support, keeping tabs on your kids, letting them know that you still be able to see your friends, you can play with them. We're just going through a transition. For younger kids, make it exciting, make it fun. For older children, take the time to take them through it, help them to understand it, and use it as a learning point for them.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are families listening to us this morning wondering, how do I even initiate this conversation? Because it's important what Phoebe is saying. There are families that have established that kind of rapport already. So it's easier for mommy to go into her child's room to say, look, this is what is happening in our country, and because of that, maybe if you used to take this kind of meal, would have to do it this way or that way. But what if somebody is now learning? How do you initiate that conversation? Can you share practical ways with us?
Okay, so like I said, between the ages of 0 to 5, that is where it's going to be a bit fun and exciting. So you go to the child, you say, guess what? You know what? We as a family, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to do something different than we've never done before. Mommy is going to do this. Daddy is going to do this. Whether it means that the husband has to look for a better job, whether it means that there has to be a relocation. I mean, these are the practical things that happen. Maybe the rent there is too high. All these changes have to take place. And then you say, okay, but for you, because guess what? You're also playing a part in the adventure. You also are going to have to, change schools, or we're going to go to a new house. Oh gosh, let's go and have a look at it. Wow. I know it's smaller than what we're used to, but what are some of the things we can do to make it exciting and fun? And how can we make this as, homely as the one that we're living in before? Involve the child in whatever is happening. Involve the child in packing and preparing. And if it means that meals are going to change, involve them in preparing those meals. These are the things and it's all a matter of attitude. You have to be upbeat about it. And that's what Era was saying, that, it's the way we feel about it that we also, it begins to exude towards the other people around us. For the older children, like you were saying, sit with them. Yes, it's the first time, but say, we've never had this conversation with you, but I believe that it's important for us as a family unit to all be on board when changes are taking place. So can you just come sit down, get everybody together? But what you should do is don't just tell them what to do or tell them what is happening. Allow them to also bring their questions. And this is something that's very critical, because they're going to be worried, they're going to be upset, some of them may even be angry. But giving them the opportunity to communicate to make this so much easier. So you just tell them, okay, so let me know, how do you feel about this? It's
Right.
not your fault. Maybe one should have prepared better, but the economy is going through so many changes. Let's look at it together. What are some of the things that you would propose that mommy and daddy also do to make it easier for us? What are some of your thoughts about it? So this is what we are proposing. this is a timeline that we're going to do this. And would you like to spend some extra time with your friends? Do you need to, what's it called? Go on this. I mean, just continually have that conversation with them. And I know some parents are not used to it. Some of them are a bit intimidated by the idea of it. But it's just a step-by-step process. Open that door, let the child feel safe to come in and be vulnerable before them. I think growing up, a lot of us, our parents gave us that sense of security. Oh, mommy and daddy know what they're doing. Everything is okay. And so it's very unusual for us to include our children in some of these conversations, but it's very important to do that. And it's going to also give them the opportunity to start exploring ways in which they can also look at their future and see, okay, when I have children, I want them to also feel safe enough to come to me and discuss the hard things. And I want us to work together as a family unit to, attain that goal that we have. And always make it clear, this is the goal. We need to save money. We need to cut down our costs. We want to do this. Let them understand the goal. At that age, usually they understand it a little better. Help them to understand the goal and always speak, in a manner that is age appropriate. If it means that you have to get a children's counselor or a family counselor to support you through the process, do that. Get the information, get the tips, and then work together.
Right, let me bring you in, Eugene, General Manager of Petra. You know it. I mean, from where you sit, you see the bigger picture than most of us because of your work every day. But for many people at home, this is tough for them, really. Like I say, on social media, I know I've seen people share how they've had to take their children from one school to the other, how they've had to cut down on a certain snack, how some of them have decided to sell off items that, usually will be fun items for their children and all that. Eugene, can you share real practical ways with us on how to minimize the impact of what is happening around us, even on the home, in terms of how much I earn, how much I spend? What can I do to make this more bearable for my family?
Hello, thank you very much. Good morning to your listeners. And thank you very much for the question. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Great, thank you. So that's an interesting question, and undoubtedly we're all going through a very tough time. To be honest, when you go through the various strata, everybody is dealing with it. I mean, there are CEOs that are struggling with how to keep up with payments for their staff. There are people that are having to reduce their salaries and people that are having to go home. But I believe when these uncertain and risky times come up, you sort of go back to the basics, and it will be important to have some sort of a plan. You look at the Maslow's theory of needs, and you start with your physiological needs, your food, your shelter. I mean, the basic things, right? And it will be good for parents to sort of keep ahead of that curve. You don't want to be hit by surprises. So what is your plan when it comes to making sure that there's food on the table? Sometimes the thing that we get a little lost about is that we end up sort of trying to keep our power, keep our faces, like Phoebe was sharing and my other panelists, and end up, oh, we still have to do what we have to do. I mean, I'm not going to let my kids suffer. I'm going to make sure that their home is okay. But there are other choices that you could make to minimize this impact, right? So, I mean, if you were buying some almond milks that was a little bit expensive, you should start looking at some other options, right? And make sure that those basic needs are being met by what you have and what you can afford to have. Now, when it comes to the earnings part, there's so much uncertainty. You don't know what happens. I mean, you could go to work and they say, listen, the way things are going, we're going to have to let you go. And all these things are uncertainties and they are risks that are hitting us. And you need to sort of take a longer look. So I advise that people just tone down to the minimal times. From everything that we hear from government, from financial aspect, there's nothing certain, to be honest. And so you don't want to feel overconfident. And so tone down to the barest minimum and just try to keep ahead of the curve by having a plan for the basic needs, by having a plan on how you're going to take care of the things that fall due. And unfortunately, some of these financial plans are not just things that you switch off because of the family needs, right? You can't just get up in the morning and say, hey,
No food.
I can't drop you off at school anymore. I can't afford it. It needs to be some sort of a process, and it needs to fit into some plan that is a smooth over. And one of the things that I tell people about is, I mean, investments and markets go through waves. It's a wave pattern. It rises and it falls. And as these things happen, a lot of the things that we lose on our side of the world is we lose a long-term plan, and then we just favor what we are going through now. Unfortunately, this will be over. And so how do you make sure that your long-term plan of getting out of debt or getting out of poverty still stays alive? And you must almost keep all these things in some sort of a balance as you go along, right? So somebody who completely stop their investments. I was doing some treasury bills. I was just trying to put some small monies away. Now I just want to make sure that I have enough money stashed to take care of the things. But you realize that as you get out of this, which we eventually will, you've sort of lost that long-term plan. And so you need to keep some sort of a balance between the two, depending on your situation. So you work through the theory of needs from the basic needs and make sure that you keep ahead of the game.
Talking about the theory of needs, I don't know, something just came to my mind. I want to know if that's what you're driving at, really. So, if my family, for example, went on summer vacation or we went on a Christmas vacation, we may have to trade that for food in the near future because we don't know what's going to happen, right? Is that what you're saying? That we should begin to look at what is most important now and then hold on to some of these things that, you know, they're very important. I mean, bonding time and all that. But for you, we should cut some of those things and begin to probably find a way of storing ahead because you said we should be ahead of the curve. Is that exactly what you're saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. And there are innovative ways of doing this. This is what planning gives you, right? So, I mean, as Phoebe was sharing, for example, instead of going on summer vacation, you could go on a hike with your kids, right? Go to Shy Hills and walk up a track. It's a nice time to bond with the family instead of buying a flight tickets to go to Dubai or somewhere else, right? You plan to go to Dubai, it's going to set you back maybe $4,000 or $5,000 for the family, but you could do a hiking trip and it will be a nice time for the family, cost you maybe just your fuel to get to some of these places and still have a good time with the family. And so it is that balance. And unfortunately, you don't, as a parent, you don't want to be hit in the face. You don't want to be, as somebody says, be starstruck that, oh, I woke up today and I realized these things are happening, so we're not going on holiday again, and you can't go to this school again. You need to try and keep ahead of the curve. And so being ahead of the curve is like, okay, we've been going for summer holidays every year. This year, we're going to go to Akosumbo and do canoeing, or we're going to go to Shy Hills and do like a trekking somewhere. And it's still summer holidays. It's a time that you spend with the kids. And it's going to be valuable to them, and it's going to still achieve the bonding that you wanted to have with the kid, but it's not going to cost you as much. But if you're not ahead of the curve, you're just going to get up and say, hey, I mean, we're not going to go to whatever, Dubai again, or we're not going to go to this resort that we plan to go. And then it's sort of a hit for the kids. They're thinking, we had all this planned out, and then now we're not going to be able to do it. And so you keep ahead of the curve as the leader of the home. And try to find innovative ways of achieving some of these things in a less costly way.
Right. Ariel has something to add.
Yeah, that's an interesting contribution there. And I want to just comment on Phoebe's submissions that sometimes it becomes difficult to have this conversation with the kids based on the value system we've been operating already. So if the value system have been made that we can do all the things that you need and it's always a yes, yes, yes for the kids, then it's difficult. And so this is the time as families, we need to check the value system we are living with. What are we telling our kids? How are we building them so that they are resilient in these times as they grow up, because sometimes the parents never get the chance to go through this with their kids, but they will grow and come to face such a situation, and that is when they realize that I don't know how to go through this. I don't have any resilience. I don't know if I can't buy series, then it means my world is coming to an end, because that is the value system they've been raised with. So as parents, this is a time we need to start looking at how we are operating with our children. What are we telling them? What value system are we putting in them, so that when times are not the same and we have these conversations with them, it doesn't hit them so much. And also, as Eugene was saying, we always want to have, the bigger things in life. But sometimes you need to learn how to balance. And this is what I was sharing. If you always have to travel, I used to travel all the time. Now I don't travel. But I travel in Ghana as if, it is what I used to do. And I have to come to that, balance and terms with it, that there's so much I can do here, even if I don't get to sit on the plane to go out. And these are the things we need to inculcate into our daily lifestyle, so that when things are not going our way, or the way we are operating, we can quickly calibrate and balance out of it. Yeah.
Right. I know for you at home, you may have started some of these adjustments. We'd like you to share them with us, or if you have any question for our guests, we'll gladly take them. Put this number down. Is the number to call later when we open the phone lines: 0302 216 541, 0302 216 541, or if you prefer to join the conversation via WhatsApp, 055 1111957, 055 111197 is the number to send that message to. Now, we've just said it beautifully here. Talk to the kids, plan and all that, but we must admit these things can be very stressful. They can take a toll on other needs that we have. When you look at the hierarchy of needs by Maslow, obviously the most important has to do with your physiological needs. That's what Eugene shared with us. That's food, water, shelter and all those kind of things. But when you come up 2 steps, there's the issue of love and belonging. And while we are doing all these things, there's that part of us that also wants to feel loved. Unfortunately, in the process of doing some of these things, there can be so much stress that we neglect those emotional, intimate needs, especially for couples. Ariel, how do you navigate the times? So you're having to deal with sitting down, looking for other ways of earning money. There's a hard mental work. And we cannot take that away. We cannot belittle that process. But then there's also that spouse who also feels like, well, I need affection, I need intimacy. And then there's this one who said, look, there's not the time for that. Can't you see, I need to get my head above the water. How do we balance this? And how do we ensure that while we are working at this, we don't lose
the social support,
the emotional well-being and all that?
It has to be awareness. You need to be aware on your own that I don't need to lose my family because I'm having these tough times and making, this adjustment and making these decisions. So if you totally cut them off because you have taken on the stress so much that your connection with your family is affected, then that is going to go into the future as well. So you need to wake up now and say that, yes, we may not have all the luxury we used to have, but we have each other. Love and support is crucial. And this morning when I was coming, I just said something that said, man shall not live by bread alone. And then it gave me a whole submission. We don't live by bread alone. We live by laughter. We can live by the sunrise. We can live by the fact that you have a child who wakes up and between 0 to 5, they don't know what's going on and they are laughing, And so your social support is key in these times. You need them around as much as you need your mental well-being. You can't deny your mental well-being and emotional well-being because you need to take care of your financial well-being. So you need to make sure that all these areas are intertwined. You can't neglect any of them. If you neglect your children because you are trying to adjust financially, and so when you come home, you say, nobody talks to me, I have to be in the room thinking about how to get us through this. Now they may not understand it. To them, the interpretation is daddy doesn't care about us anymore. When he comes home, he just says, leave me alone. He's upset, he's angry. And so this is the time that as much as you need to do the financial adjustment, your social support is also key. Who can you call to even check up on them in these times? How are you doing? Is enough, to help you as well, that I reached out to, Adam, and checked how she's doing because I've missed her. Yeah. Because I've missed her.
That's a good
and
one.
that conversation, that social interaction, that sharing of where we are together and how we are optimistic and, oh, I've decided to do this. And you say, yes, I also did that. It's also a way of going through it. So the social need is also important. Emotionally, what can you do in order to feel calm in the day? It could be reading a book. It could be listening to good music, your type of music that can calm you. It could be reading affirmations. It could be saying positive things to yourself so that emotionally you find a way of feeling calm in your inner world so you can make that right decision. Because if socially you start neglecting the people around you, you denying the love and the comforts, the hug or the smiles that are around you, then you're going downward. And even the decisions you're going to make will not be from your creative self, will not be from your well-balanced self. So you need that. What can you do in the morning to feel well to start the day? So these are the things we should be looking at now. The activities we actively engage in, so we are striving to balance through it. Because these things are bound to happen, but you are bound to go through them.
Right. Now, this just reminds me of when COVID hit really badly and we all were looking at the negatives. We couldn't go out, we couldn't do a lot of things. But then we began to adjust and look at the positives, especially for us as family units when we had to spend time together. For once in a long time, my sisters and I, the whole family was together. And I was like, wow, this is nice. Things are happening, but this is what we can take out from it. And so it's really important that you talk about the social aspects of this. Well, you're listening to Home Affairs on your superstation, Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for us to acknowledge those who make it possible for us to come to your homes every Saturday morning to help you make homes out of houses. For your eye care challenges, look no further. Amasha Partners Limited and Eye Care has it all. Your eyes deserve the best care and quality designer eyeglasses. Amasha Partners and Eye Care undertake the following services: supply of designer frames, sight testing, supply of lenses, sunglasses, contact lenses, ophthalmologist in attendance, and general treatment. Locate us at La opposite Trade Fair, Spintex, adjacent ICGC before the Community 18 Junction, McCarthy Hill opposite Benji Lodge, North Kanishi Swan Lake opposite Green Hand Junction, Achimota second floor Dainswa Plaza, Takrade Axim Road opposite CBG Bank, Ho opposite Housing Junction, Kumasi Airport Runabout, Kolebu opposite ECG, and Koforidua Central Hospital Road, and Tema Community 1 Meridian Plaza. Or you can contact Amasha Partners Limited on 0302-939-850 or 0302-778827. You can follow Amasha on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, good food brings good memories. That is why taste matters, and Onga is the taste master. As taste masters, we give every meal that superior taste. A wide range of Onga flavors assures you of a superior taste and irresistible aroma. Why don't you get your Onga powders? The stew 3 mix, which is a combination of ginger, onion, and garlic, our classic, and chicken. Oh yes, and for the Onga tablets, the shrimp, chicken, beef, and stew. We have a flavor for every meal. This is just what you need for for an Ungalicious meal. And by the way, Ungalicious is the new delicious. Unga, Mama's helping hand. We'll take a quick breather now. When we come back, Eugene and Phoebe, I'll be taking your thoughts as well on how to ensure that our emotional well-being is catered for while navigating these times. And obviously, we'll get interactive with you as well. Do stay. I'm Bernice Abubedu Lansa, and I'm doing this for your regular Edem Night Tea. This morning, we are talking about the economic times, how to manage your family, how to ensure that when all this is said and done, your head will be above water, you come out stronger than before. We've been discussing practical ways of doing this. Eugene has been sharing with us how to plan, the alternatives you can make in place of some family decisions that you used to take earlier. Phoebe has also been sharing with us how to involve your children, and Ariel, right, she's been teaching us balancing what we can do to ensure that we have a cool head to take the right decisions. But just before we brought you those commercial messages, Ariel was sharing with us how to ensure that you don't lose other aspects of your life while dealing with this financial situation. Let me come to you, Phoebe, for your thoughts on that as well. Intimacy, showing love towards one another. How do we ensure that all these are still in the mix while we are dealing with our financial problems?
I think it boils down to what we value in life. And after we spoke earlier, I was just thinking about when it comes to our children. Part of the reason why so many of us feel pressurized to keep up, should I say, the standard that we've always had with our kids, is also because of some of the things we've been saying or we've been hearing since we're young. Or I have to do better for my children than my parents did for me. So there's always an emphasis on, our material wealth and our financial well-being, ignoring other things such as like we were talking about your emotional well-being, your mental health, your community connections and how you connect to people around you. And like I was saying earlier, this is a very great opportunity to teach your children some very important values. And there's a term we talk about the emotional quotient, we talk about our intelligence quotient, but then there's also the adversity quotient. And around the time that COVID came up, a lot of people proved that they had a very low adversity quotient.
Yeah.
That is the ability to go through hard times and come out the other side, still standing strong. And so, in spite of what is happening around us, we need to focus on the end game. And we need to also identify those things that are really, really important to us. Ariel was quoting Matthew 4:4 when Jesus was tempted by Satan. He said,
I didn't know.
Man shall not live by
You
bread
don't live by
alone.
bread alone.
man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God.
Yeah.
What do you really value? What is really important to you? What do you meditate on? What is your value system based on? What is your religious belief? Where do you gain strength from? It's not from money and material things. And we need to, this is a time for us to even help our children to understand that money is a tool that we use to acquire, the things that we need on a daily basis. But our personal value is not based on that. Now, coming from that, it helps us to understand that, human life is more important than what we own. And so spending time with the people that we love and care about in in a meaningful manner, it goes so much further than just focusing on what we have in our pocket. Some people say, okay, then how am I supposed to spend meaningful time with them if I don't have enough money? But you see, I share this statement with parents sometimes. I say, children don't know what they don't have.
Yeah.
Children don't know what they don't have. And also, it's important for us to teach them that time spent together is more about quality than quantity. It's the kind of time that we spend with the people around us. If I can't take them to Labadi Beach Hotel and have like a 4-course meal for Christmas, I can make the meal at home. We can go get a cookbook, go through it, buy the ingredients. We can drive out of town and buy tomatoes and buy some of our groceries rather than buying it from town because it can be more expensive. We can make a day trip out of it, come back, make a big breakfast, have a picnic on the lawn. It's the quality that we are focusing on. It's not the quantity. And so I think that the reason why some of us are so burdened by the situation going on, and I'm not going to cast aside the fact that it is really stressful, but it also stems from the fact that we have been brought up to focus a lot on what we are providing for our children materially rather than what we are doing for them when it comes to time spent together and just having those meaningful moments together. And I think that even comes from how we spend together time together as a couple, as a married couple, as partners. Do we portray that to our children? Do we show them that the time that we spend together is very valuable? Do we make the sacrifices to spend good time together? Do they see us hugging and valuing one another? And it starts with you. If you don't see it as something important, it's very hard to teach, and it is very, very difficult to actually live this out during hard times like this. It will be very challenging for you to pick a call and check on someone because your focus and your value system is based on money. It's based on what I have and what I can show off. It's not based on the value of human life. And I mean, I want to put this charge to everybody that really take time to look at it. Yes, times are hard. But one thing I know is that, with our faith and with our belief in Christ, and, he always emphasized the fact that, man is more, or life is more than food. Life is more than money. And if we put our value system in these things, like, Eugene said, it's passing, there are waves, it will come, it will go. It's one of those things that happens in life, and it's very unstable. If you put your value in that, it will also become very unstable. You realize that every time your emotions are being moved to and fro by what is happening in the economy, by what the government said, by what the economic experts are saying, and you just begin stressed. You'll be watching the dollar go up and down.
Yeah.
The last thing that will be in your mind is, oh, let me check on a friend, let me visit my grandmother, let me take the kids out for a drive. So we really need to hone in on that and then really hold on to what is really important in life.
Right. So the numbers to call, will be opening the phone line shortly. 030-2216-541, 030-2216-541. Or if you prefer to join the conversation via WhatsApp, it's 055-1111-957, 055-1111-957. We'd like for you to share your thoughts with us on what we've been discussing. If you want any clarifications, if you have any questions, they're always welcome. Or if you'd like to also give some practical tips on what you've been doing to ensure that you stay afloat in these times, we'll be glad to take them. But once you brought in the Bible, Phoebe, let me just throw this one into. In Proverbs chapter 17, verse 1, it says, better is a dry morsel of food served with quietness and peace than a house full of feasting and with strife and contention. This is one of the scriptures I love dearly because it just, like you says, shows you what the priority is.
Yeah.
There should be love. There should be peace in the home. I'm glad Eugene is here this morning because, Eugene, unfortunately for you men, in the kind of society that we live in today, there's so much pressure on you, not only to meet the needs of your families, that's the nuclear, you're also receiving external pressure as well from extended family members and all that. I don't know how you do it, man, but I think that you do so well. And I'm one person who likes to really acknowledge the strength of men in this country. Our society just puts so much pressure on you. You can imagine a young guy has just finished the university, he's doing his national service, and already there are calls, oh, Fasika Brafie, bring money home and all that. Eugene, tell us what you need in these times. Yes, we know, especially for women, we are more wired emotionally, so we want the hugs, we want the intimacy, but tell us what you need as men in these times so that we can offer the support.
Thank you once again. Thank you. It's very interesting, and I was enjoying the conversation up until this minute. To be honest, I actually thought I was here sharing a few tips on finances,
Exactly,
but I'm
yeah.
actually learning quite a lot from the panelists here. Helpful to me. I'm a father as well, and I'm a business leader, and it's not an easy time, to be honest. Two things I like to share is one, do not try to control the past. We are living in changing times, and things are changing every other day. A lot of the struggles for men, our minds are pretty much wired to fixate on something until we solve it. And so it's very difficult for a man to start thinking about the fact that, hey, I have some money locked up in this particular investment and I'm not going to get it back. I'm not sure what's going to happen to it. It was my sure banker. I was going to use it for this and that. And now everything is in some sort of up in the air. And we fix our minds on that, and it makes it difficult for us to look at anything else. And when the women bring other things, we consider those to be very trivial. Woman, this is not the time. I mean, I have a 50,000 investment that is going down the drain, and you're here talking about visiting your parents and going to this and going to that. And so my advice is, times are changing. Don't try to hold on to the past, but be active in defining the future, because the future is coming at you. Don't try to control what you can't control. You may have a lot of control on things, and you are struggling with the fact that I can't control this anymore. Well, look at what you can control and how you can actually use that to solve your problem. What am I saying? We are living in times of risk. It may be very prudent to find insurance that you can afford to solve your risk problems, right? There are risks that could hit you. Ecclesiastes says that money answers all things. All these nice things that we're talking about, I see it like there's an engine to a ship, and if the engine is not working, we can't have cooling, we can't have movement, we can have nothing. And so if there's nothing coming from money that helps us to at least keep body and soul together and make sure that all these things are held in the balance, you could actually be looking at a very dire situation. And men are fixated on solving problems when they come up. And so when the source of money is under risk or is under some sort of uncertainty, we become very, very, we become another people. we may forget that we have a family. We may forget that there are a lot of other things that are pressing at us. So I always advise people, move your monies, if you have them, if you can, to near cash investments. If you have longer investments, move them to near cash. If you have like a 30-day fixed deposit or 21-day treasury bills, just to retain the value and make sure that you can actually have the cash when you need them, right? Because it's good to keep some sense of security. That's how we men think. It's better that I have some small money somewhere that pays me 100 cedis every month, which I can guarantee and plan my life on, than to hope that my employer continues to pay me, which I'm not sure what's going to happen to that, right? And don't try to control the past. Just try to define the future as it comes at you. There is uncertainty. When there is uncertainty, you want some guarantees. And so you want to move from investments that are not secure, that are longer term, to things that are short term, that helps you to preserve cash and have liquidity. And so, like I said, 21-day treasury bills, they are paying, at least from what government is saying, they would need that kind of money to run the country. And so they're not going to put a lot of restrictions on that. Fixed deposit with banks that you can trust, so that you know every now and then there's some money that is coming in. And so when you get that unfortunate call that, or we have to cut your salary, or we have to let you go, it is not a dead-end situation for you as a man. Risky situations that are hitting you, you can buy an insurance to cover them. You have uncles that you're responsible for, you have your parents there, get a funeral cover for them, get some sort of a cover that you can afford, so you don't get called that, hey, and this unfortunate thing has happened, you need to bring 5,000 cedis, and you're thinking, where in the world am I going to get that kind of money from? And so it's important to keep our cool heads and try to let the past go, because it's gone. That's the truth. Nobody in the world today can tell you what's going to happen in the next 3 months. No investment professional, no minister, nobody's going to tell you. But God holds us, and to the extent that we can, we need to make sure that we put things in place to hold us up as we go. And so there are risks. Identify your most important sources of risk and try and get an insurance that you can afford to cover those risks. there are uncertainties in the financial markets, in your finances, try and get some guarantees and buy yourself some safety, and tone down on what you have to do. Find innovative ways of achieving those things. What is exciting about this, and I found this interesting because I have 3 little girls, and for some street reason, I still don't understand how this came about, but I have to buy them KFC every Friday wherever I am. Before I come home, I have to
It's
buy
a
KFC.
ritual.
She won't remind me. But I discovered over the past couple of weeks, I don't know how we discovered it, like we were not buying KFC again. My daughter absolutely loves doing cupcakes with the mom. When my wife said, "Hey, let's go and get some things and do cupcakes," she was more excited than KFC that I brought.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, going to buy ingredients for cupcakes is like 35 cedis against a KFC that I spend about 120 cedis every
Cities,
week
yeah.
on. And that's
Right.
a blessing for me.
Yeah.
It cuts me
Yeah.
back a
Yeah.
little bit. And so some of these things,
Yeah.
when you engage with what is going on in finding solutions, you will find some of these things,
Right.
and it helps.
Thank you so much, Eugene. It's now time to open the phone line. 0302216541 is the number to call. If there are a few messages coming through on WhatsApp, we'll take them as well. I'm seeing the interaction on our Facebook page, and there are a lot of you who are enjoying the conversation this morning. We have Dan from Usu on the line. Good morning to you, Dan. Let's hear you.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
We're doing well. Thanks for asking.
We don't have to be fixated on issues like this. Every Christmas, we kill goats, and so even if there are challenges in the system now, we still have to eat goat. That is a wrong approach.
Right.
Progress is impossible without a change. And they who will not change their mind cannot change anything. It requires adjustment. It requires response. And it requires responsibility. By that, declare that I am the manager of the home. And so when I decide to do things the way things should go, it's just because I've made an assessment of situations. And I've come to realize that these are the areas which are defects. And if we turn this way around, things will move in our favor so that we will not be found wanting.
Right.
Very soon we'll be entering 2024. So 2023.
Yes.
And school fees will be staring at in our face.
Mm-hmm.
And so many other things. So we need to just relax with issues.
Okay.
And we should know one thing, that even with God does not answer every prayer. There are times when you ask him things, he will delay. Or he will deny you. It can be even immediate. Or he can give you differently. That is how God works.
Right, Dan.
So we should also sit down and allow things to move in a direction that will bring glory to our Heavenly Father.
Thank
God
you
bless.
so much, Dan. We have Oti Boating. Hello, Oti. Let's hear you. Hello, Oti. Well, I think we lost him there. Just a few reminders. When you call us, kindly reduce the volume on your radio set so we don't get feedback. But it's interesting what Dan answered. God answers our prayers, but he doesn't answer them with a yes always. And so sometimes there are delays, and sometimes
Changes,
there's a no.
difference.
Right. So while we wait for our next, okay, we've got Johnson rather, on the line. Hello, Johnson. Let's hear you.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello. Good morning.
I hope you are doing fine. This is my Senator, your church member, forever.
Right, Johnson. Let's hear you, please.
Yes, I want to take a update. You know, we have to definitely prioritize. In times like this, you just have to prioritize. You have needs and you have wants. You don't just tackle your wants before your needs. No. So Maslow has been completed already. It is good, the hierarchy of needs. If you are family head and you don't know how to prioritize the inside, you are definitely going up the ship working.
Right. Thank you for calling, Johnson. There was a bit of a problem with the line. It was quite hard to hear you, but we got the import of what you were saying. So we'll be wrapping up shortly. We've got barely 10 minutes to do this. I know there's a lot to talk about and a lot to share, but we hope that we've been able to give you those important nuggets to survive the time. So, Ariel, let me just take more practical tips from you on how to cut down costs. We've heard about the vacations and all, but what are the other things we can explore?
Yeah, Phoebe mentioned some of them. I mean, taking our local vacations, which I've been planning a lot this year. And next year, I'll be sharing more local vacations with us. Things we can do here in Ghana that can help the family to bond and connect. And for our basic needs, food is important. And it's something that we spend a lot of money on every day. But we need to start planning. Now, if you don't plan what you're going to eat or what you're going to buy in the shop, you end up picking things you don't even need.
Right.
And I realize as a culture, we don't know how to put paper down, write what we need, go and just stick them off and pick them and come out of the shop. But this is the time we need to learn how to plan ahead of our shopping.
So no impulse buying.
No impulse buying. I mean, this is the time you plan ahead what you're going to pick from the shop. Make a shopping list before you go. And then don't go looking at bargains, because if you look at bargains, you'll be tempted to just pick things that maybe you don't need now. And it's a time to also read labels. It's a time to, sometimes the same product by the brand, it's expensive on the other one and cheaper on the other one. So you have to read labels. We don't read labels. So we go and we know that it's this one that is good. But maybe the other brand has the same contents, same qualities, same nutrients, same vitamins and all that. But we choose the other one because we know the name and we pay for the name.
That's a very useful tip.
Yeah, this is the time you go to the shop. And I mean, you go to shop and you see people reading and you're like, oh, what is that? They are checking what is in there. And compare it to another one and realize I can have the same thing here and it's cheaper. So this is the time we need to check labels, read labels, check what we are buying so we can buy the one that we can afford, and check expiration dates.
Important.
Check expiration date. And we don't, need to buy things that we don't need at this time. The next thing is, when you go into the shops to buy, go to the place you want to go to. Now, electricity. It's also one. I have a name in my house, Zoom Lion. So that I won't talk about it. But I'll go around and put off the lights. I'll put off the lights. And sometimes my daughter will say, oh, I'm just coming back. I said, okay, I'm sorry. Because I'll put off the lights, I'll put off the fan, I'll put on anything that is being wasted. Yes. So this is the time we consciously have to become aware of the things we are doing. Check how you're spending your electricity. Sometimes I put off my fridge because maybe there's nothing in there. I don't drink cold water. So when the kids are not home and I don't have anything, freezing, I can put off the fridge because I take my water room temperature. So there are a lot of things we can start looking to cut down on. Dresses, shoes. If you have enough now, it's not so necessary that we get a new dress for Christmas, a new shoe for Christmas. It would be nice, wouldn't it? But we are going through a time that we need to adjust to balance. So, hey, you may have dresses you haven't worn in a year, 2 or 3.
I know, right? We may begin to have
auditing. And you may bring them up and really enjoy them again.
Please audit your wardrobes.
Yeah, so go into your wardrobes. And it's a time also to learn to touch people's life and also help. So maybe if you go into your wardrobe and realize I have so much, I don't even need them. It's a time to also touch community. It helps you feel happy, grateful that I had and I shared.
Right.
So let's check our spending, the things you're buying, how we are using water home. Sometimes you are washing dishes and we open the tap and it's running while we wash.
And that's money.
And that's money running.
People don't, relate it that way.
Yes. This is the time you put a bowl in the sink and wash from the bowl, pour it away, fetch another one to rinse it. It may look like it's nothing, but it's a culture you are creating, and it's it improves you. You become a better version of yourself when you are consciously using everything available to you. Yeah.
Right. I'm told we have Oti Boating back on the line. Hello, Oti, if you can hear me.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for holding on. Let's hear what you have to share.
Yeah, I said what you're speaking is good. But one thing I want to this 7th December was my ninth marriage.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I'm telling sometimes the couples who have no child, so I'm not saying something. I want to say something to them to encourage them, give them hope. Because this is in some parents are buying things for their children, they are going to their children. Half of them don't have anyone to go with. So they're full so sad. The full so so they need some encouragement to see something about them. To encourage them to hold on or to come. No matter how things are getting too tough for them to come. Because they feel so sad.
Right.
Because this time, everyone is going with children, families are going, see the couples, they are married, no nothing. They are just both two of them. There's no happy. This is when they feel so sad. So
Thank you for sharing with us, Oti Boating. So, Oti Boating giving us some hope this morning for persons who may hoping to have children and all. But we have this message, our last one on WhatsApp, sent in by Anthony. He says, it's sad when I see people beginning to plan only when times are hard. It looks like we fail to learn, especially from scriptures and history. In your plenty, invest most. In your little, save more, so that in the lean season, your investment will take care of you. I do my best to save at least 20% of my income and invest 40% of it. Let us learn to invest well before we save. Keep a high income profile over expenditure. Kindly tell government for me to. Good morning to you, Anthony. Thank you for your message. A really, really important one. We're running out of time, unfortunately, and we'll be wrapping up shortly. But let me say a very big thank you to our guests who joined us here in the studio, sharing so much with us. I wish we had more time. Phoebe Betsimete is a family life counselor. Ariel, the wellness coach, and Eugene Brekran, general manager at Petra. Before we go, let me just remind you that good food brings good memories. That is why taste matters, and Onga is the taste master. As taste masters, we give every meal that superior taste. A wide range of Onga flavors assures you of superior taste and irresistible aroma. Why don't you get your Onga powders? The stew 3 mix, which is a combination of ginger, onion, and garlic, our classic, and chicken. Oh yes, and for the younger tablets, the shrimp, chicken, beef, and stew, we have a flavor for every meal. This is just what you need for an Ongalicious meal. And by the way, Ongalicious is the new delicious. Onga, Mama's helping hand. And Pentecost Hour, a religious broadcast program sponsored by the Church of Pentecost, comes your way with the chairman of the church, Apostle Eric Nyamiche, on Joy 99.7 FM at 1:30 p.m. every Sunday. Tune in every Sunday at 1:30 p.m. as Apostle Nyamiche brings you life transforming truth that nourishes the soul, ignites passion, and restores hope in the nations. The Church of Pentecost. We are possessing the nations for the Lord. And thank you for doing the listening this morning. I really hope you've learned a lot from our guests and from the others who've called in to share their tips and their thoughts with us. And we hope that you are able to sail through this season. It's really important for us because God willing, a year by now, we want to see you alive, well, healthy, still doing the listening here on Home Affairs. Let me say a very big thank you to Oliver for helping us with the social media. And what can I say about Daniela? Great producer. Daniela, thank you so much. Well, this is where I say goodbye to you. God willing, next week, Adam Naite is back, and I've been doing this for her. And so, God willing, next week you have Adam back. But thank you so much for keeping me, and thank you so much for all the messages of encouragement you sent my way. But for now, we'll hand over to the next team, which will bring us the Weekend City Show. Something to laugh about, something to relax.
Very
necessary. Ariel says that's very important. So please just stay with us here on your super station, Joy 99.7 FM, for the Weekend City Show. I'm Bernice Abubedu Lanza. Thanks for doing the listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.